I'm your host, Lady Evil, once more. Who else would there be, aside from Miso? And welcome back to another episode of Dicentra. I'm not ready. Oh, no. If you guys remember last time, or if you didn't see last episode, there's gonna be a little link up above. You can just tap on that, and watch it before you see the rest of this. In the meantime, for those of you who are all caught up, oh! Well, I am both happy and saddened that was kind of right. You know what? We're just gonna move on. We'll just get it started. Oh, I'm alone now. Eyes slowly blow wide open. She drops on the floor in a heap, and her eyes turn into a dull blue as she retreats into the darkest corners of her mind. It's the last safe place she has. All because of me. Not because of you. Not because of us. No. Incorrect answer. Each ghost was a decoration that hid the bars of this birdcage Dove calls home. Despite the fact that they had been rotting away long before I had arrived. One by one I ripped them down, forcing her to see the space for the cold, empty prison cell it truly is. It's because of the ghosts themselves that she was able to find comfort, despite being in a place so depraved of that. Without them, what does she have? I look around the room and analyze every little detail. The books, the plants and drawings, the monsters. Everything Dove has done since I first met reveals everything I need to know about her. Dove has never tried to get out. She'd already settled into the discomfort. I feel my fur bristle. Dove had lived with the monsters like she was one of them. She must think she truly is one, after being treated like one for so long. She's been convinced that she is something that belongs to the night, hidden away, locked away. Something undeserving of love and care. No, something that can only be loved by things that are as terrible as she is. Dove's father had locked her cage from the outside, and she had locked it from the inside. The ghosts were her distractions. That's all Dove has ever done, distract herself, so nothing needs to change. If she's distracted, she won't focus on the things she truly yearns for. She won't think of how she wishes things were better. And it makes for a perfect punching bag, doesn't it? How convenient. For Dove, the path of improvement starts with a steep decline. She now stands at the top of the hill, looking down, completely scared out of her wits. There are two options at this point for her. She can either stay at the top, where the air is cold and thin, or she can walk forward into the unknown. It's an extreme choice to make, but maybe if I stay by her side, she'll have the courage to make the right one. There's no love for her here, and Dove must think there is none for her outside of these walls either. Ooh. But there is us. We're here. We're fine. Look, I think we're besties at this point. I will love Dove. So much that I'll overflow with it. I'll have enough love to last us lifetimes. I'll be the first to love Dove when she is free, and I won't be the last. But how do I convince her of that? Love is just a word. It can be empty, heavy, easy to say, or impossible to say. It means nothing when there is no foundation under it to bear its weight. Love. Sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes it's too simple. Sometimes it's too complicated. To say you love or loved can mean so many different things to whoever hears it. So how can I define what my love means for Dove? Wow, Basil, you're being really introspective right now. That is kind of concerning. I feel, okay. Heroic sacrifice coming up, maybe? How can I prove to her that this feeling I have is hers to have, to take, to use, to consume, to devour? If I were to cut out my heart and serve it to her on a platter to feast on, I still don't think that would be enough. Are y'all getting those vibes as well? Are you getting the heroic sacrifice about to happen? I take a deep breath to calm the frantic beating in my chest. Maybe nothing will be different on the outside. After all, there's no such thing as a normal childhood for children like us. When other kids were playing in the creek to catch crayfish, I could only watch from the distance. The last time I tried to play with them, they ran away. They knew who I was. What I was. My parents would have told them, warned them to stay away. Not plainly, no. That wouldn't be effective. What is more powerful than the curiosity of a child? Not many things, I think. One and I know that best. They needed to be creative to keep their children away from beasts like us. To them, we are folklore, songs, scary stories to be told at bedtime. Our nails are iron, our teeth are sharp, our eyes can curse, our voices can steal, our blood can burn. And I suppose, after everything I've been through, they're right to be terrified. We truly are nightmares brought to life. We are nightmares that pierce the veil of safety so we can walk outside in the daytime amongst them. We don't even look that different, though. At least, not at first. Maybe if no one looks too closely. Dove could pass as one of them, so she could be accepted into the care. My heart clenches at the thought. No, that would be impossible. Witches themselves try so hard to smother the magic in their own children, and the result only makes them yearn for it more. The witchling is born starved, not for food or affection, but for the ether. That's why we can never be mistaken for human. We wear our hunger for magic on our sleeves. Anyone would be able to instantly tell that we are not the same. After everything that's happened, to try and contain Dove, even outside the walls of this mansion, would be too cruel. If Dove cannot be loved for who she is, what would all this effort be for? I look to my side. Near me, Dove wraps her arms around her knees and hides her face. You have to leave this place. Not without you. My eyes sweep over the scattered shards of glass and the paintings that have been separated into parts like puzzle pieces. I start to push large pieces together until the paintings align, not really considering the reason of my actions. Dove's eyes widen and she tries to push me away from the glass. Stop! You'll get hurt. Don't bother yourself, they're just stupid drawings. I wince when a shard cuts into the fleshy pad of my paw, but I do not stop. You made them. How can they be stupid? My bleeding paw leaves little red marks on the floor as I continue rearranging the broken glass. As the paintings are slowly reformed, I take note of what they are. The long limbs of Ziri, the flowing train of Mycocillin from Babel, the many hands of Odetta, the sharp elbows of Grell. Dove had even painted the trailing gore of her mother's ghost. Their images became laid out before me, cradled by swirling brushstrokes. Dove uncurls her arms and leans forward on her palms. Her fingers reach out to tentatively brush against the glass. My paws sting with cuts and leave smudges of red on the floor. As Dove admires the fractured paintings, an idea forms in my head. As I burst into action, I wonder how I'd never thought to do this before. I press my bloody paw into the floor and work hastily. I get even more chunks of glass embedded in my paw, but I'm numb to the pain at this point. I bark to get Dove's attention. She turns her head slowly. Then I watch shock begin to take over her features. Dove's lips move, not speaking, simply mouthing the word I've written onto the floor. Her eyes grow watery. You. I hop and press little red paw prints against her dress. I then hop back down and tuck my chin into my chest to point at myself. And me. I move to stand behind the word I've written, and my tail swings side to side. Friends. Written in blood and all. Which has to mean something, right? It doesn't matter if the word disappears. The blood will cling to every tiny grain in the wood, and to the very essence of this house, even after it's long gone. This word is my gift to Dove. For the fireworks, for the safety, for letting me meet her. It can't be taken back. You are my friend, Dove, and I am yours. Until the world is nothing but memory dust floating through time. Dove's lips begin to wobble. We're friends? My tail wags. I nod my head slowly and hold her eyes in mine fiercely. Dove sniffles and wipes at her eyes. Then she asks me a question that catches me completely off guard. What's your name? My eyes grow wide. A wave of emotion goes through me. My whole body suddenly feels like it's been strung tight. My name? My head bows and I stare at the floor. I swallow a gulp, then drag my bloody paw along the boards. When I'm done, Dove's eyes consider what I've written. She stares at my name with wonder before flickering her gaze to me. Basil. I feel my breath get knocked out of my lungs. I blink rapidly to fight off the wave of sadness. I didn't know I would miss hearing my own name so much. It feels like a piece of my true self has been returned to me. I miss it so much. The sound of my grandmother calling my name. Whether with affection or discipline, I miss it all. Dove lets out a small hiccup, and the well inside of her begins to overflow. Tears fall down her cheeks. The sun shines in obsidian streaks like starlight. She surges forward and throws her arms around my neck. I desperately wish I could also shed my own tears, but my feelings are trapped inside of this body. I can do no more than softly whimper out my sorrows. Dove sobs into my fur and wipes at the snot that leaks from her nose. Basil. My heart jumps at the way she says my name. My eyes close and I nuzzle my head against her, breathing in the way she smells like old books and withered lilacs dyed the smell of decay that clings to everything in this house. Dove cries her heart out. I begin to wonder if she'll cry herself to death. I think she has enough tears hoarded away to cry endlessly. Eventually, though, her wails start to wane into quiet sniffles. I jump when my ears pick up the sound of something clinking. Dove's fingers clutch the leaf charm on my necklace. It suits you even more than I imagined. I look up at Dove, and she smiles softly before turning her head towards the broken glass. Dove pulls away from me and looks to her side. It's not done yet. My gaze swings to the empty section above the paintings of the monster. The other parts were easy to fit together because I could recognize the creatures, but some sections were difficult to piece together. Dove moves to kneel before the unfinished section with her back to the window. She leans over the pieces and starts to place the missing parts together. Her hands move confidently to stitch the fragments together. I suppose it makes sense that she's far more familiar with her paintings. When she's done, she leans back. The completed painting finally sits before me. I tilt my head in bewilderment as I take it in. I've never seen this creature before. Is it what's in the basement? Because if you guys remember in the first episode, we went to the cellar that's on the edge of the property, and there was something in there, and we haven't heard of it. Like, we don't know its name. Nobody has mentioned it. Just me. The longer I gaze upon it, the more unsettled I start to feel. The painting is a shadowed humanoid. It's devoid of details or anything that can help me identify it. The most unique thing about it is the spread of bat-like wings and the long clawed fingers that stretch out, as if beckoning you to come closer. Oh, wait. Are they real? Or just a figment of Dove's imagination? A strong breeze chills me. Dove twists her neck to look behind her. Her hair flies around her like leaves in the wind. I notice her gaze catch onto something and delicately pat over to the window. Uh-oh. A single rose stands on the seat in front of the window. There is nothing to hold it up. Something enchants it to stand perfectly straight as if it's a piece of glass. The petals are white as snow, like the ones in the rooftop garden. My instincts are screaming at me to stay away from it, but Dove moves like clockwork before I can stop her. When it comes to roses, people typically avoid its thorns. There usually isn't a need to stay clear of the soft petals, but I would caution that these ones stay admired from a distance. Yeah, that's right, because they have teeth. Remember, because Dove was feeding them her blood. Dove brings the tip of her finger to the cluster of tiny teeth that line each petal. The petals waste no time snapping shut around the offered flesh. Dove wrenches her hand back with a gasp and a small ring of teeth marks wrap around her finger. We both watch as her blood starts to soak through each petal until the rose bleeds into a vibrant red. Where did it come from? My muscles are tense. A noise makes me jump. My eyes snap to the outside of the window. It almost sounds like the flap of wings. My gaze darts from the trees to the sky in search, but nothing stands out. Was it just my imagination? I look to Dove, and her eyes are completely fixed on the rose with an expression I cannot read. Oh. That was weird. Oh, time has passed. Okay. We remained trapped in Dove's room for days. At first, we were desperate to find a way out. To be trapped in this box with nothing but books and our wits, I was afraid we would go mad. But eventually, we decided to just start waiting. Well, Dove decided waiting would be the best course of action, and I howled about it until I was too tired to continue howling. She had a plan, and I didn't like it one bit. As we wasted away, warm meals and fresh water would appear in the room, but Dove would only touch the water. Worry takes a bite out of me every time I see how much more tired and frail she becomes. We could still hear the ticking from the grandfather clock, and I counted every second painstakingly to track how much time has passed. On the 259th, 202nd, the door reappears, and the witch walks through it. Dove looks up from her place amongst her book towers. The witch steps into the room and places a hand on his hip. He looks down at Dove and gives her a smile. Up you get, darling. It's time to get ready for dinner. What? Dove looks like she's dressed for a funeral. Oh no, this is not your look, girl. What is up with the pigtails? Oh no, what have you done to my Dove? My poor girl. After finally being freed from the confines of Dove's room, I watched as she was dragged into the kitchen and placed into a steaming copper tub to be scrubbed clean. The witch makes no comment when he catches glimpses of the thin cuts up and down her arms before she shoves them in the water. Then, like she's nothing more than a doll, she is buttoned up in an all-black dress. It's far more fancy than anything I've seen her wear before. To be wrapped up so formally, I fear what the occasion must be. All the candles that had covered the dining room table have been cleared away. The linen has been replaced with a fresh one, and all 3 chairs have been uncovered. On top of the table now sits platters and plates of exquisite food. Fruits polished to a mirror-like shine, free of any blemishes. Steaming meats with thick sauces, mixed vegetables. The food is so enticing, it's suspicious. But a part of me still hopes that Dove will hide away a plate for me after this no dogs allowed event is over. I can feel saliva start to pool in my mouth from the temptation of the smell alone. And after not eating for days, I can't imagine how Dove is faring as she sits opposite to her father. Candles flicker and crackle around the room while a storm rages against the window outside. I sit in the hallway, peering into the room through a gap in the doorway. Music plays faintly on the side, filling the awkward silence. Dove hasn't said a word. She sits neatly with her hands on top of one another on her lap, while her eyes try to set the empty chair next to her father ablaze. The witch takes a long sip of the rich, dark red liquid in his wine glass and sets it down with a tap. He looks just as wary as Dove does. His skin dulled has to be a lifeless gray, and the marks around his eyes have sunken even deeper and darker. His eyes flick around the room, almost anxiously. A candle pops loudly behind him, and I see his shoulder jump. He twists his neck to quickly look behind him. My head tilts slightly. This is unusual behavior. Surely that didn't actually frighten him. I can feel my nerves start to fray from his strange behavior. He blinks and composes himself once more before turning his gaze to Dove and clearing his throat. I'm sorry you've been locked away for so long. I can feel my lip curl over my teeth. Is he sorry about her bedroom door or the mansion doors? I see Dove's eyes blink at me from the corner of my eye before she acknowledges the witch's apology. To which she doesn't. Dove's eyes fall to the covered plate in front of her. She reaches for her fork and holds it up, ready to finally eat. The witch holds up a hand. Not yet. Dove's bottom lip juts out in disappointment. She drops the fork with a clang and slumps in her seat. The witch swirls his wine. Don't forget grace, my dear. Really? You of all people? Really? We can't eat until the devils have blessed our meal. Oh, that's right. Anywho, Dove crosses her arms over her rumbling stomach. Tell me, what have you been reading lately? I lay my head on my paws and huff quietly. What hasn't she been reading? Dove turns her head to stare out at the rain that taps against the window. Nothing you would find interesting. Indulge me. I'm curious. Dove takes a deep breath. I was going through a collection of work by one writer. His name was Lowe, or something along those lines. The witch leans his head on his palm and takes a sip of his wine. Ah, yes, I'm familiar with him. He sets the wine glass down. Not quite my cup of tea, I'll admit, but I do find some of his words quite captivating. One of them being, I was never really insane. The witch looks at Dove expectantly. She blinks, then looks down at her lap with the slightest hint of redness in her cheeks. Is this a mockery of her? Except upon occasions when my heart was touched. Oh no, it's not. Dove's fingers tangle together on her lap, and I see the witch give her a small smile. Ah, you are definitely a fan of his work already, I see. Is the boy in the room with us? Because there's a third chair. I don't remember if I said it or not. I don't think he is. More red stains Dove's cheeks, and she sinks lower into her chair. Oh. The witch opens his mouth to continue the conversation, then he suddenly shoots up from his chair. Dove startles just as I do when his chair falls to the floor with a loud clatter. My heart pounds and my ears stand on high alert. What on earth? I rise up from the floor and bend my elbows, ready to burst into the room if need be. What? I peek out from the edge of the tablecloth and see the witch stagger back a step with his skull mask now over his eyes. His eyes are glued to the windows. I switch my gaze over to them and see nothing. This family seems to be very good at seeing things that are not in plain view. You think? I'm convinced this house is haunted by far more than just ghosts. I wonder if his actions have not cursed this place, and now he is forced to stay here just as much as they are. Especially considering the fact that we personally sent most of them departing. In less than a blink, the witch's mask is dissolved, and he resets his chair back to the way it was. I catch a glimpse of his forearm and see a smudge of red. He used magic. But for what? The answer comes in the sound of light knocking. Hidden in the shadows of the dining room are hints of movement and flashes of strings. I swallow. Dove sits stiffly in her chair and doesn't acknowledge the new, unwelcomed audience. The witch returns to his seat, picks up his glass, and finishes his wine to the dregs. He sets the empty glass on the table and starts to rub his temples. I apologize. I seem to be seeing things lately. Dove says nothing and avoids looking at him. Her father sighs wearily, then grabs a bottle of wine to refill his glass. Let's go on a trip. Just you, me, and Hyptia. Dovehead snaps up to look at her father. He finishes pouring the wine and sets it down with a tap that makes Dove flinch hard. It's been a long time since you left this place, hasn't it? The witch's mouth forms a thin line. We'll go somewhere nice, then. The three of us. Everything has been prepared to bring her back. He holds the bowl of his wine glass and considers the deeply colored contents. I just need... The witch's brows furrow together. He seems to be hesitating on what to say. One last thing. Dove looks at her father like he's grown 6 heads. Shock, then fury crosses her features until her eyes burn bright with betrayal. Her eyes prick with tears, but she does not let them fall. He's talking about Basil. Dove's eyes drop down to the covered plate in front of her. The witch rises from his seat swiftly and then begins to make his way over to Dove's end of the table. In the air, I start to smell the notes of something sour. I watch Dove nervously. I wanted to celebrate. Dove is white as the linen on the dining table by the time he stands beside her. He places his hand on top of Dove's plate cover. Where's the boy? Tonight. Dove's mouth falls open like a marionette. We will finally be whole again. A single black tear slides down her cheek. I made your favorite. He starts to lift the cover off. Violet. I jump when the witch suddenly flies back and drops the lid with a mind-rattling clang. My ears fall and a veil is torn away. A curdled smell invades my senses and makes me reel back from my place at the dining room entrance. When I look, I see that all the food on the table is decayed with patches of mold dusting nearly every surface. Flies zip around the food and maggots wriggle and fall onto the table in clumps. I force down the need to retch, especially when I lay eyes on Dove's favorite food. I think it might be a little undercooked, considering it's still wriggling and writhing on her plate. Ooh. Dove wears a blank expression as she stares down at the leeches. I can't even begin to fathom what passes through her head as she picks up her fork and knife and starts cutting up her meal. Wait. I am confusion. Anybody else confusion? The witch stumbles away in disgust and backs up against the window. Dove takes her time, slicing a leech into pieces. Blood leaks out from its lifeless body and pools onto her plate. Her face is frighteningly calm as she picks up a gory chunk gracefully with her fork. Oh, she is out freaking him. That's what this is. She knows something that we don't know and is trying to freak him out. I can see the witch watch in horror as she begins to raise it to her mouth. I can't tell what he's anticipating more as he makes no move to stop her, because he observes her like a live experiment. Knowing what I know of Dove, there are two possibilities for what she might do. 1, she sets her fork back down after nothing more than a disturbing bluff. And 2, she eats the raw leech. If he was hoping the former might come true, well, then he doesn't know what kind of daughter he raised. Yeah. Dove chews slowly, carefully. Eating leeches can be risky. If they're still whole and alive when you eat them, there's a highly likely chance that they will latch their teeth into your internal organs. And if you're unable to remove them, they will drink your blood until they're swollen and blocking your airways. After Dove swallows, the witch makes the sign of the cross, the devil's version, which is just the inverse of the holier version. His hands tremble as he does it. Now his expression mirrors Dove's state of shock from earlier. It's true. You are one of theirs. Oh, and it took you this long to realize it? Lightning illuminates the sky behind the witch. For the fraction of a second, I swear I see the silhouette of something amongst the clouds, but there's no time to dwell on it. The witch wears a solemn expression as he stares down at Dove. It has to be you. Dove's head turns until her eyes land on me. My heart beats erratically. Her mouth forms the word, go. It's now. I gulp. Or never. And that's where we have to stop. More questions, less answers. God damn it. Gah. Oh no. Dove, she got the chance to show him up and freak him out, and she took it, and I'm proud of her for that. Good job. She's like, nah, you think you can scare me? Fuck you. I'm gonna eat this leech. But seriously, where is the boy? He's supposed to be here. What is happening with that kid? Because he's real. He's very much real. The witch has interacted with him. I thought for a while, I had this idea that maybe he's a figment of imagination, or mayhaps like another, like an illusion, but no, the witch has interacted with the boy. I have so many questions, but less answers. But we'll continue this Friday. So if you guys have enjoyed the show, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!